myself goals. And that's, being the first 4,000-yard passer in Bears history. That's a, goal of mine. 70% completion that helps the team, keeps us on the field, puts us in better positions. And then other than that, just trying to go down and, score the most points that we can with each drive that we have. So, that's kind of my self goal. And obviously other than that, you got to go win. That's success for me. That's success for the team. And that's all we wish for and all I wish for.
4,000 passing yards, 70% completion percentage. Only 4 guys did it last year: Joe Burrow, Goff, Bake Show, and Geno. Yeah. Is this a realistic personal goal?
I think it's a dumb goal.
Oh.
Wow. I think 70% completion is not only is it not important, I don't even know that it's good. So you did because here.
I mean, all those guys.
Yeah, but I think here's the last 4 years. Every quarterback who posted a season of 70+ percentage. So Burrow's done it twice. Baker's good. Geno's good. Goff who's good. Tua last year. Jake Browning. No one did it in 22. No one did it in 21. Or Burrow did it in one of those years. You know what I mean? The point being this. I think what a lot of those quarterbacks have in common is a lack of top-end arm strength, and because of that, they have to be more precision technicians. You know what I mean? Like, I think that as long as you are above 6, he was at 62.5 last year, that's too low. Right. I think the goal should be break 65, you know what I mean, in there, because I thought,
good enough.
Yeah, I thought that Caleb was too cautious last year.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, as far as if I were to set individual goals for Caleb, 4,000 yards, great one, 25 touchdowns, and a stat that I care about a lot, but and actually my guy Mahomes was not good at it all last year, but I think historically is very important, is yards per attempt, at least 7 yards per attempt. And so here is guys who have averaged that over the last 4 years, and it's, some of the best quarterbacks in football. I think Lamar misses out because in that span of he missed time.
Yards.
The 4,000 yards, right.
Goff really out
Purdy
here.
would be in there. Well, the yards, the TD.
I think what hurts Purdy is he played half a season.
Right.
You know what I mean? But so that's 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 7 yards per attempt is to me absolutely achievable and should be his goal. Now, it's very hard to do year after year after year, but those would be my goals if I were Caleb for this coming year.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. Yards per attempt also doesn't really look at average depth of target, which you guys know I've talked about a lot with regards to Patrick Mahomes and how he actually has some of the shortest average depth of targets, even if his yards per attempt is going to be higher. That's why we have some of these more advanced analytics to actually look at more what we're seeing. And that's why it's like, if we're looking at a completion percentage as well, like this other chart, I mean, first off, it's actually kind of funny to use this chart because we know, Nick said some pretty good quarterbacks, but like he doesn't think Goff's a good quarterback and he doesn't think Justin Herbert's a good quarterback. So I'm not so sure, but I do think it's a fair argument that when we look at this now 70+% completion percentage last 4 seasons, it's like, what do all these quarterbacks have in common? Like they're not winning, right? They're not winning. Now, Joe Burrow to me is a little bit of an outlier here because of how great he's been and his seasons have been, but it clearly doesn't automatically mean that you're putting your team in a position to win Super Bowls. It means that you're maybe doing work offensively and you're getting the job done. I mean, I think that's fair, but that's why this question as a whole to Caleb, I don't necessarily love. And I'm on the fence because when I was queuing up this clip, I could see at the bottom that it says like straight up what his goals are. Most of the times when I queue up a clip, I just kind of know like, oh, they're talking about the Bears, or oh, they're talking, it's like I don't really have an idea. But this, like, I could clearly see his goal is this. And so as I'm kind of setting this up, I'm already thinking about like, well, wait a second, like how did this come about? Where did this? And so I assume he was asked, like, do you have any personal goals? They were asked that to Caleb. And like, for me, I would have not really given an answer. I would have tiptoed around it. It's a weird thing as an athlete. On one side, you obviously undeniably are going to have personal goals. And you're also still going to even have selfish goals and selfish intentions. Like, that's just normal human behavior. But then also, you also are playing the whole team game. It's all about winning. It's all about this, right? And you always have kind of like, it's a lot of lip service where it's like, I don't care. Even Steph Curry will probably say, like, I don't care if I go 1 for 10 from 3. As long as we win, that's all that matters. And it's like, yeah, true. But like, we know you don't want to go 1 for 10 from 3. And so every athlete's going to have that. I forget if it was MJ or Kobe or whoever said it, where it's like, I want to win, but I want to be the reason why we win. And like, that is, any like true athlete, anyone who's, especially the guys who are clearly like leaders, like the ones that are the quarterbacks or the stars of the league, like they want to be the reason why they win. And I think that's totally okay and normal human behavior. But when you put a hard number on this, like this is the problem, especially when you're talking about playing for Chicago and there's so much hyper attention and focus on you. I just look at this and it's just like, this is something that even his own teammates can kind of rag on him, where it's just like, let's say he doesn't, actually let it rip down the field, and a receiver can be like, stop trying to protect your completion percentage. Like, I'm open, hit me down there. Or it's just like, you see him like really trying to let it rip, and it's just like, dude, take the check down. Stop trying to get over 4,000 yards or whatever. Like, it could happen. And I guarantee you, if there's a couple moments throughout the season that feel slightly off, people will go back to this and be like, is he trying too hard to fit this thing? Because there's times that like I go through these stats, and there's a lot of times that I try to craft various arguments or poke holes in arguments that people use statistically, and there's plenty of times that you're like, oh yeah, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have the best completion percentage, or Josh Allen, or whatever it may be. A lot of times when you're looking at quarterbacks like in the pocket, or under pressure versus not under pressure, in a clean pocket, it'll be interesting. You'll have plenty of quarterbacks who are balling under pressure, a ton of yards, ton of touchdowns, but their completion percentage is like awful. And it's just like, so it's just, that's why I always kind of talk about that. You can't just isolate one number, one variable. You can have a quarterback who has a 75% completion percentage, but it doesn't mean that they're a good quarterback. You could have a quarterback that has a 62% completion percentage, maybe slightly too low, but it could be an awesome quarterback. Like, it all depends on the situation. So I get on the surface why someone like Caleb is like, this is what I'm shooting for. But I don't even know if that should be the goal, even from a selfish standpoint. Even if I'm just looking at it strictly through an individual, like, what do I want as an individual player, what I'm trying to achieve in year 2 with Ben Johnson. It's just like, I don't know. I don't even know if like that would want to be on my radar. I'm trying to think of like, if I went to a coach and said, this is what I want, I'm trying to think of like what a coach would say back to me to try to reframe it. Because the last 2 Super Bowls were won by quarterbacks who did not throw for 4,000 passing yards and 70% completion percentage. Jalen Hurts did not have that, and Patrick Mahomes in 23 did not have that. So it's just like, I feel, to me, maybe like, because I'm trying to think, like, even if I said an awesome touchdown, and I want to throw 40 touchdowns and no interceptions, like, like it's just, I don't know, something about that just, I personally don't love. It's not the worst thing. It's not awful. And again, I assume, because only the clip that I saw was when he just gave his answer, I assume they asked him directly, like, what are some of your own individual goals that you have? I still would have tried to change it and been like, you know what, individually, I just want to be the best version of myself, whatever that looks like, being a leader, putting my team in a position of success. I could never put any number on it because, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. If you look at the NFL career, and all the greats before me, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, et cetera, they've all won big time with all different, completion percentage, touchdowns, interceptions, fumble, all different variations of everything. There's clearly no one way to do it. So, got to find my own way. I don't know, whatever it may be. You just be a little bit more vague and a little bit more generic rather than putting hard numbers on something. That's more of my issue than anything else. You could say taking less sacks or I don't know. Maybe even giving a slightly more technical answer that's like a little bit more mechanical or something. I would even be more open to. But something about just putting a hard number on it is just I personally don't love. And I do promise you, if there's any type of adversity throughout a season, like players will this is absolutely something that another player would call someone out for and be like, stop worrying about your completion percentage or whatever it is. It's like, I'm open. It's a 50-50 ball. You didn't throw it to me. It just gets in people's heads. It just does. So, I mean, I think even Nick Wright kind of talked about that at the end of last season, where it's just like the one thing he has going for him is not throwing interceptions. And it's like, is that now something that he's doing too much of? Like, he's not taking chances. And it's not a terrible argument. I think it was the right move for Caleb, considering how the team was unfolded. So even if he was being extra cautious, like, to me, that makes total sense. But if it was more like he was being extra cautious just because, like, he was like, I don't want to turn the ball over at all because, like, otherwise people will really say bad things about me, which is technically possible. It's just not the way you want to go about it. People like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, etc. Like, they'll let it rip, and they're not like, I can't throw the ball too far today because got to keep my completion percentage up. Last week I wasn't my best game, and I was 12 for 30 and don't want to have another game like that, so I'm just gonna do a lot of check downs, be conservative. Like, honestly, like, don't underestimate how those things can get in an athlete's head. They really can. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's I'll probably have a better thought for like what a coach would say back. Like, I'm trying to imagine like what Ben Johnson would say back to him, and I think like, what's an individual goal? I want to be able to execute the offense at a significantly higher level. That's what I want. More often than not, I want to make the right play at the right time. Doesn't matter if it's caught. Doesn't matter if it ends up being intercepted. I want to make the right read every time. I want to make the right decision every time. Every time I make a throw, even if it's a completion, even if it ends up leading to a touchdown, if it was actually the wrong throw or the wrong play, that upsets me. I don't want to have success just because it just happened. I want to have success because I'm doing the right thing. And I've talked about this before as well with coaching. Like, it's an interesting balance between sometimes letting someone, when someone succeeds doing something, like sometimes, it's important for a coach to be like, okay, that worked out for you, but you still did it wrong. Kind of like what happened in his preseason game when, I forget exactly how this unfolded, but I think he left the pocket like early, made a really nice throw, and I think it was a touchdown or it was just a nice play. And Bill Belichick was like, there was no reason for him to leave the pocket, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, like, that's coaching. It's like, yeah, you got away with it, but like, you didn't have to do that thing. But the next level of great coaching is recognizing when sometimes a great player, a special player like a Mahomes is like, he's going to do some of those things. I think probably even a cleaner example is to kind of go back to Steph Curry, where it's just like, all right, you're going to be a little loose with the ball at times. You're going to take some crazy shots. Some of those shots are technically bad, even though they went in a couple times. But I got to figure out that balance of like, when do I say, please tone it down? And when is it just like, no, I just got to let him be him. So, that's why coaching can be a lot more complicated than just a strict like X's and O's or inspiration. Like, you have to stick the landing in many different situations. So, yeah, I don't know. I personally don't love it. I'll just leave it at that. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? I think specifically about Caleb Williams putting like a concrete like numbers on what he's looking to achieve, even individually. Do you think it's fine? Do you think he should have given this answer? Do you think he should have kind of been a little bit more vague? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be a part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.